Hello, hello, Jordan Chariton live status coup. It is Wednesday, July 29th, the year 2026 in the United Corporations of America, or the United States of Oil, or the United States of Israel, or the United Corporate Sacrifice Zones. Take your pick. Joined by Cheesehead, comrade, Wisconsinite, JT Cestkowski.
How many different nicknames can you come up with for the United States of America and me? Wow.
Well, last night's the first night I got 6 hours of sleep in about a year. So my brain is a little bit more useful today. Smash the like button, share this live stream far and wide. We have a great show, including a guest coming up a little bit later on a story I don't think people know about. A major city/region has a radiation crisis due to the fact that the United States buried atomic nuclear waste basically in suburbia, and it's been leaking for God knows how long, causing cancer. And just now, residents in the Buffalo area are finding that their backyards have Manhattan Project radiation and wondering maybe that's why many of our family members have unusual cancers. So we're going to get to that. At the same time, by the way, Trump is gutting nuclear regulations. So great for that. So we're going to have a guest on that a little bit later. If you don't know about the Buffalo area radiation crisis, we're also going to start on the fact that Donald Trump is kind of just like openly saying the United States is now a war economy and we can't pay for things like Medicare, Medicaid, daycare. So defense contractors are running the show. We already knew this, but the presidents of yesteryear were more subtle about it. This one is just openly declaring it. So we'll show you all that. Also, we'll get into a little bit the Todd Blanche, Trump's personal lawyer masquerading as attorney general. He's right now like clinging to life as far as getting confirmed as the attorney general. And I'm not really particularly interested in whether he gets confirmed or not. I don't want him to, but I'm less worried about that. And I think it's really instructive to find out what the Republicans who are threatening not to vote for him, what their deal breaker is versus what it should be the deal breaker. I hint, child sex traffic predators and covering for them. And also there's a really disturbing video that's leaked from an ICE prison, from a female prisoner, from a prison in Louisiana that we have already seen a guard charged and convicted with raping prisoners. And now we have a video from one of the prisoners that leaked revealing rape and horror stories, rape and torture going on at that prison. So we're going to show you that video a little bit later. Let's start with, I don't do this often, but let's start with Dwight Eisenhower, who once warned us of a military industrial complex taking over the United States government. I think we need a reminder of that prescient foreshadowing and then contrast it with the president's recent comments. If we could play President Eisenhower.
Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
Well, I think the genie's out of the bottle on that one, Dwight. I think the genie's out of the bottle on that one. So I'm just going to play a few clips because what's so toxic about our corporate media, there's many things toxic about our corporate media, but one of the things is a lot of things that should be news have just been normalized. A lot of revelations coming from the president and things he says that should be scandalous aren't even commented on. So I want to play for you. This was yesterday, the president talking about we're fighting wars, and it's not possible for us to take care of programs that help seniors, the elderly, young people, because we're a war economy. Let's play that.
Because the United States can't take care of daycare. That has to be up to a state. We can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We have 50 states. We have all these other people. We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare. You got to let a state take care of daycare, and they should pay for it, too. They should pay. They have to raise their taxes, but they should pay for it. And we could lower our taxes a little bit to them to make up. But it's not possible for us to take care of daycare. Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things, they can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing: military protection.
One thing. There is only one thing that the federal government is capable of doing, and that is providing a $1 trillion military for the benefit of, what's that?
1.1 trillion.
1.1. Thank you. But what's $100 billion between friends, Jordan? $1.1 trillion military industrial complex. We can provide that for ourselves and the world, mostly for our corporate benefactors, but we cannot provide even basic services. I love how he refers to Medicare and Medicaid as individual things, as if they are not some sort of collectivized effort. They are just for this person and that person, and that's the only way to think about it.
Also, I actually failed math, particularly in 11th grade, so bear with me if I'm wrong. I don't understand his math there. The states will have to pay for it, so they might have to raise taxes, which is not a very Republican thing to say, but we'll lower taxes on the federal end, so they'll come out equal. Well, how's that work? Because I'm pretty sure if the states are going to have to pay for daycare, healthcare, childcare, et cetera, they're going to have to raise taxes significantly on the people. So in Wisconsin, if the federal government's no longer going to pay for those things, or any state, the state government's going to have to raise taxes significantly, which is going to crush people who are already underwater from $4 a gallon gas, unaffordable health care, unaffordable child care, rising electric costs, utility bills because of Trump and this dystopian AI data center orgy going on. So how are you going to even it out for people? He's going to cut federal taxes. Well, how does that work? You would have to cut federal taxes significantly in order to not have an actual tax increase on people if the states are going to raise taxes significantly. So I don't understand that math. I don't know if you were better at math than me, but it doesn't make sense to me.
I really shudder to think of that I would be better than anybody at math, Jordan. But yeah, it doesn't math for me either. Let me do a little bit of back of the notepad math really quick here.
There you go.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Also, by the way, and I don't want to get into a huge detour, but just to satisfy my buddy Steve Grumbine, it's all bullshit. The federal government has all the money to cover all this. It's called modern monetary theory. Alan Greenspan did he just die? I think so. Alan Greenspan, the former Federal Reserve Chair, has openly admitted this. Ben Bernanke, the former Federal Reserve Chair. We just move a few decibels. In a computer. We print money in this country. States cannot print money. Cities cannot print money. So taxpayers actually do pay for services on the local and state level. But federally, when I hear these candidates saying, I don't want my taxpayer money going to drop bombs in Gaza, we shouldn't be supporting Israel, to be clear, but it's not your taxpayer money because there's not enough Americans paying taxes. You'd have to be taxed at 100%, and even that might not cover the trillions of dollars we're spending on war. Mm-hmm. How the financial system actually works is we print money. and go check out Steve Grumbine and others on modern monetary theory. But all right, so we have Trump basically saying, yeah, the federal government's not here to serve people. We're here to serve Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Raytheon, etc. So all those pesky things you people need, you worker bees that I pretended for a decade to be a champion of, go fuck yourself. We're here to drop bombs, build warheads, and, satisfy Palantir now. But it gets better. It gets better. He then said, I also think this was yesterday or the day before. He also openly said, yeah, no, we're building new defense plants at rapid speed. Take a listen.
Are you concerned about depleted stockpiles if there is a broadening conflict in Iran?
We have plenty. We have a lot of ammunition, different types. Biden gave a lot to Ukraine, and so we're building that up. But we have a lot. We have a lot of the mid-level stuff too. I mean, more than we could ever use, no matter what. But we have a lot. I'd like to have more, to be honest. But so much was given to Ukraine by Biden. When I left, the cupboards were full. When I came here with Obama, he didn't buy ammunition. We had very little. And I got it built. Now, as soon as I left, they gave a lot of it to Ukraine. I mean numbers that nobody's ever seen before. So we're building it very rapidly. Plants are being built. A lot of equipment's being built. The Patriots in particular are being built. The THAAD system is going up. We have a lot. Every one of our contractors is building 4 to 5 plants right now. And we're in very good shape. But for some of the more sophisticated stuff, we'd certainly like to have more. Biden gave a lot of it away.
So every one of our Patriot contractors at Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, we could throw in Palantir if we want. Hell, AI data centers, I would throw that in with defense contractors because we're using AI now to drop bombs, and they need the cloud compute in these AI data centers. By the way, we're not going to cover it today. We'll probably do a video. I don't know if you saw somebody got arrested at a town hall the other night for clapping.
Oh, no, I missed that.
Against an AI data center. So they're now arresting folks for clapping clapping for a speaker who is against an AI data center. So you're no longer allowed to clap in America. But what's really unique about this is he's basically giving the game away here. First of all, Ukraine, like his administration, he's been in office nearly 2 years now. His administration has significantly got weapons sent to Ukraine. Whether you agree with that or not, that's just the facts. He has drastically cut our support for Ukraine. So that's not why weaponry is down. Weaponry is down because he launched an unnecessary, pointless, illegal war with no strategy, which his generals advised against. And because he's an ignoramus, didn't realize, for all our $1 million warheads, this and that, they have $10,000 drones and a shit ton of them. So that's why things are depleted, not because we sent it to Ukraine. And secondly, is that what you, the American citizen, you, the American patriot, that's what you want your economy to be? That's what you want your town or city to be? Just a fucking simulation of 7 data centers mixed with defense contractors, mixed with refineries and, a dollar store and 7-Eleven? Because that's where we're headed. That's where we're headed. He's saying I don't even know if he's telling the truth, honestly, about we're building new defense plants, but that's not what the economy needs. That's not what like a healthy economy needs. And that isn't, by the way, some will say, well, those are jobs, Jordan. Okay, I think we could create jobs that are living wage, working class, union jobs that actually benefit planet Earth instead of destroying it.
I don't know, Jordan. That could have a real impact on the mansion housing market. If you build a lot of those affordable jobs, what are you going to do? You're going to have to cut CEO pay at that point. You're going to have to, maybe scale back on stock buybacks. These are things that are really what the American economy is built around. And I shudder to imagine a future in which the very wealthiest in this country are not able to afford a fourth vacation home. I mean, if you can't have a fourth vacation home, Jordan, then what is this all about? What is the point of working that dead-end job at 7-Eleven for $7.25 an hour if you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps and one day reach the fourth vacation home?
And Jenny says we need housing, build houses. Yeah, I would say so. What's so illuminating about this also is, and this is directly to MAGA, because we have some MAGA in the audience, whether they're live or they watch later, is, honestly, we're all human. We've all bought a bill of goods. We've all been hoodwinked. I was hoodwinked by Obama. I'm sure many of you in the audience were. I was sipping that hope and change. I thought he was really going to follow through on a lot of the things he talked about. So it ain't a criminal offense to be bought or hoodwinked by a politician. But I truly have to wonder, if it's not a cult and you're not just a cult member, why you would be supporting this man when he is completely 180'd on like one of the core shticks of being anti-war. This is not only for war. This is not only imperialism. This is like it openly, we're at war to benefit rich billionaires, rich defense contractors. That's about as anti-MAGA as it gets. So I have a hard time understanding at this point why anyone would support Donald Trump in terms of MAGA under the auspices of, if you care about America first. This is not America first. There's no imminent nuclear threat from Iran. Actually, everything we're doing actually might expedite them getting a nuclear weapon, because if I were Iran, I'd want to get a nuclear weapon to stop from being randomly attacked every 6 months to a year. I mean, that's just the reality. We don't do that to North Korea because they have a nuclear weapon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's the message that you're sending to the world now, right? Is if you want to challenge the U.S. on any position that it takes in the world, you better, if you don't have a nuclear weapon already, you better develop one fucking fast, because that is the only way to avoid becoming the next Libya, the next Syria, the next Iran, just falling into the U.S. crosshairs. It's the only way you're going to prevent it. And to your point about, this is anti-MAGA, you can't understand why people are going along with it. For like, hands up, Jordan, like I, for a long time, used to roll my eyes at people who would call MAGA a cult. And I thought that was just way too dismissive and, didn't take these people's, economic concerns seriously enough. But after things like this, one, I think all of the people who legitimately held economic anxiety as their reason for voting for Trump have already abandoned him at this point. And so what you have left of the MAGA movement are just the Trump sycophants, are just the cult members. And it's certainly, I don't think you can argue that it is anything other than a cult at this point, because if you voted for him and the reason that you claimed is because he's anti-war and you're still supporting this president now after he's already murdered dozens upon dozens of schoolgirls in Iran through double tap strikes, like, I got nothing for you. Like, what
nearly 200.
Yeah, nearly 200. I just wasn't confident in the number. So like, I got what else am I left to believe at this point other than you are in a fucking cult and you have to wake up at a certain point, and now this is on you. And unfortunately, from everything that I know about cults and I know about and conspiracies and movements like this, is like, you cannot just, there's no magic switch you can flip to deprogram a person. They have to find their own way out at a certain point. And so, I think we can be thankful that the members of MAGA who are left are definitely a minority in this country, but it is a scarily large minority who are now being hoodwinked into more forever war.
Well, I would also point out, and we don't do a lot of this, like, there's a whole YouTube cottage industry of, just do a video on Joe Rogan because it gets clicks.
Yep.
I don't wait, we have more important things we cover. But I would also point out there's been some of these podcast pros that have like admitted they were wrong and gone anti-Trump. But Joe Rogan was one of the main culprits, I would say, of convincing, like, I met them on election day, like 18 to 25-year-olds that I interviewed that thought Trump was anti-war because Joe Rogan was cradling his balls and pushing the message that he's anti-war, because Joe Rogan, and this might, not that I have an invite from Joe Rogan, I'll still come on, even if you invite me, but because Joe Rogan has a pea brain on a lot of these things and kind of just goes off vibes. But that's why it's important. I'm not for censorship. I'm not opposed that Joe Rogan had Trump on. But if you are not equipped to actually push back, or you don't have like producers getting in your ear when they are lying. I mean, Joe Rogan has had Trump on, JD Vance, and many of the Epstein class on, essentially for 3 hours of just lies and spin and PR. And I get like, well, it's a conversation. It's not journalism. Okay, but you have to actually push back when they're just clearly lying about main things. And he recently had JD Vance on, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but JD Vance spun and kind of massaged the Iran war. Like, you have to have people, if you have that big of a platform, you need to come out and say, this guy is full of shit, and MAGA, you got taken, and I got taken. And when you don't have people like Joe Rogan doing that, it's unfortunate.
I don't know if Joe Rogan is captured by his money or captured by his audience at this point, but I
think he's captured by whatever protein powder or whatever he's hawking he takes. I think it's done something to him.
So we're going to stage an intervention for him that he is addicted, and it's having an inverse impact on all of us. That's going to be next Wednesday. But before that, like the thing about Joe Rogan is that he knows some of this is bullshit, because if you watch his programs, he will on occasion, it's rare, but he will on occasion still call out the Trump administration for, this, that, or the other thing about saying that it's bullshit, especially some of the Epstein stuff. He has called out that the Trump administration's handling around that has been bullshit. But yeah, when he's given the opportunity to actually push back, he doesn't. He just continues to cradle their balls. Like when he has on the Trump elected officials, when he has on Kash Patel, when he has on JD Vance, then it's just all about, basically letting them get away with whatever they want in terms of messaging, because he recognizes where his bread is buttered at this point. He's no longer this, independent thinker that he would have liked to have styled himself a long time ago. I mean, that's just not who he is. He is now all about advancing MAGA talking points, because that's where his audience is, that's where his money is, and that's what the protein powder in his brain tells him to say.
Now I want to get to a more just explicit admission from Trump that this is all about greasing the skids, filling the coffers of the defense contractors. I think this was last week. I don't remember. But listen to Trump just openly talking about, the defense contractors are doing very well. Let's play that.
Are you concerned, though, that renewed operations in Iran might turn that around, or is that going to be a trend?
Well, look, we're making a lot of money. The defense companies are doing great. It's jobs. It's all jobs. I'm not doing this for jobs, but when you think of it, we make our own equipment.
Hey, you can't afford gas? Don't worry. Raytheon's doing great.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to go sell plasma on the side, which that is not a joke. That's happening in America. I just read a story about that's increasing. Yeah. People selling plasma, blood. Don't worry about it. Lockheed Martin, they're opening up another shop. Hey, JT, you got a newborn child care? It's tough. It's tough to afford.
No kidding.
Don't worry about it. Palantir, we might actually name a city after them. I mean,
oh, good. I feel so much better. I feel so much better about paying $380 a week for childcare, and I'm one of the lucky ones who can afford it and knew to get on the wait list early enough so that I could access it, and so that I could start this job at Status Coup to be able to bring in a second income for my family, so that way we're not drowning in credit card debt. Holy shit!
And by the way, one of the things I hesitate to say liked, but one of the things I at least respected about Trump early on was he got rid of the pretense, the fake politician pretense. Is that, hey, we should have taken Iraq's oil. If we were going to go there for the oil, we should have taken it. because that's what it was about. So at least he was actually saying the quiet part out loud. But now he's saying the quiet part out loud while the majority of Americans are suffering economically. And to be clear, because, I don't want to just be like, have Democratic Party blinders on here either. We're not like rah-rah Democratic Party. This is not like a Team Blue channel. If that's what you're looking for, go elsewhere. The economy already sucked before Trump. The economy has not been good for 40 years because how the economy is measured by politicians and the media is based on the stock market, the unemployment number, which is really an artificial number, GDP. The economy, let me see if we still have the image, because how I look at the economy is this. That's your economy for the last 40 years. Hell, we're 45 now, if I'm doing the math right, 1980. That's your economy, folks. And that's been under Republicans. That's been under Democrats. That is the United Corporations of America. Okay? Has gas been lower at times? Yes. Has things been a little more affordable for the masses? Yes. But overall, there's been a 40-year gentrification. It's called corruption. It's called, there's been a 40-year economic crisis. It's called gentrification. Housing and rent have been going up forever. There was only one tiny blip, and that was after the financial crash, where things were actually more affordable because rates came down. Unfortunately, people couldn't afford it because they got foreclosed on. Mm-hmm. I remember when I moved into New York City in 2009, I was paying like $900 a month, which might sound like a lot to most people. In New York City, that's not much in New York City. And I got a big apartment for $900 a month. Now, my brother with his 2 kids in New York City is paying over $6,000 a month.
Jesus.
And I'm like, why the fuck don't you move like into a house? And he's like, because with the interest rates, I don't want to move while interest rates are this high. And for what I would get for I wouldn't get a lot of space for what houses cost in the area I want to live. But the point is, he's openly telling you that in his mind, and by the way, this is the mind of Republicans and Democrats. They know that the United States economy has in large part been built on defense. And it's not just defense contractors, steel companies, manufacturing companies that make a lot of other things that we need for defense. This is what Dwight Eisenhower warned of. And we have scaled this up to the point, by the way, the amount of money we spend on defense is way more than the budget, than that bloated, insane, immoral $1.1 trillion budget. That's not factoring in the CIA. That's not factoring DHS. That's not factoring whatever fucking black ops goes on, because we know that happens. Hell, the Pentagon hasn't passed an audit. I think it's like 12, 13 failed audits in a row. Everyone else has to pass an audit but the Pentagon. Mm-hmm. So it's, to me, the fact that these statements are being made and there's no media coverage, that the president of the United States is openly admitting that we are a war economy, that we are making essentially decisions not based on threats against America, but for defense contractors and the economy. That's what he's saying. Am I interpreting what he's saying wrong?
No, I mean, you're nailing it. I feel like as Trump, in 1.0 or running in 2016, railed against the swamp. And now he has just become a creature of the swamp by becoming beholden to all of these oligarchs, defense industry oligarchs, tech oligarchs. Like, he has just decided to do their bidding on so many different things, including going to war, burning up munitions that only these companies can supply. Like, that is all this is now. And again, if you are in MAGA and you ran or you believed you were voting for, draining the swamp, so to speak, you've been taken. You have been fooled. These defense contractors are making bank. The blob, as it's traditionally known in DC, the left-right consensus about more wars is better for America, that the military-industrial complex is our best export that we have here. You are only strengthening it by continuing to support this administration.
Absolutely. I want to read to you so you see that this is not just him saying it, but in practice. They just had a little summit at the White House with like 17 fucking defense contractors. This is from Fox News, who's a weapon of this propaganda, by the way. Defense industry leaders align with Trump administration plans in closed-door strategy session on defense spending. Leaders from 17 key firms huddled with top administration officials, including Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. Fox exclusive. Wonder how they got it. High-level Trump administration officials, including Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, met Thursday morning. This was, I believe, a week ago, at the White House with key defense industry stakeholders, Wiles, Department of War, Office of Budget and Management leaders, and leaders from 17 defense contractors, including Raytheon, BAE Systems, Honeywell, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, Palantir, and others were in attendance for the meeting. The Trump administration representatives laid out their version for what is being called Reconciliation 3.0. The purpose of the meeting was to ensure that all the companies were aligned on the importance of this reconciliation package being passed, which, according to administration officials, they were. I'm sure they were. Reconciliation 3.0 includes $73 billion for the Pentagon and intelligence funding, which is largely tied to replenishing U.S. weapons caches for the Iran war. There's so many different ways, areas to go with this. But besides, I hope somebody makes, some type of comedy skit about that meeting. Maybe SNL could do it. One thing that really pisses me off, JT, and we'll get to the media hypocrisy on the democratic socialist hysteria. What? Have you heard anyone on CNN, MS Now, Fox News, New York Times, Washington Post ask how are we going to pay for these things?
No, Jordan, now that you mention it, I haven't. Though that I'm sure that they wouldn't be so hypocritical as to not, right? Like that must just be me not being a devoted enough fan to all of these shows, because I always hear them ask that question when it's about, providing healthcare for people, providing childcare for people, providing education for people, providing food, providing shelter, anything that is a basic need for people to survive. I always hear them ask that question. But when it comes to taking life and immiserating people, especially overseas, especially if they're not white, I never hear them ask that question. But again, I think my sample must just be off.
Yeah, because, when I hear, and I'm sure we'll hear it in 2028 on the debate stage, how are you going to pay for Medicare for all? How are you going to pay for free public college? How are you going to pay for? I think we need like a new deal just for climate to save the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Like at this point, the big, what was Biden's things? Build Back Better. I mean, that was pennies compared to what is actually needed to like save the planet. If you've been paying attention, it's getting hotter and hotter every summer. Mm-hmm. We're now having wildfires affecting America every summer, not just summers, by the way. The pace of the storms, etc. The last thing I'll say on this, I mean, maybe openly saying, yeah, we're just at war basically to grease the skids of defense contractors. And yeah, why we kind of have state economies falling apart, cities falling apart, cities basically doing bond scams because they don't have enough money in their tax base. So basically doing, deceptive things with Wall Street banks and bonds, maybe because there's no investment from the federal government because the federal government's too busy paying for unnecessary wars. Today it's Iran. I'm sure they'll come up with another bullshit war. And by the way, it's not just under Republicans. I'm pretty confident if Hillary Clinton became president, we would have been at war with somebody. We would have. Biden, to his credit, pulled us out of Afghanistan, but he didn't shrink the amount of military bases around the world. We have over 1,000 military bases around the world. That's not for defense. That's for imperialism. So I want to move on now. It's kind of connected to the topic, but you wonder why so many people are now identifying as democratic socialists. Perhaps because they can't afford anything, the necessities of life. And there's people running for office telling them, I'm going to help you afford the necessities of life rather than go to war or provide blank checks for countries committing genocides or build a surveillance state. And I just want to read a little bit of this Wall Street Journal story. A small band of socialists is sowing panic in the Democratic Party. And they focus on, I guess, the co-chairwoman of DSA. Megan Romer likes to spend her free time sewing costumes for school plays, picking blackberries in her backyard in Cuyahoga County, and watching her partner play the fiddle in folk bands. In her day job, she is seeking to overthrow capitalism. And by the way, this is Wall Street Journal, but more liberal rags are talking just as stupidly.
Oh,
Romer, 42, is national co-chair of DSA, the far-left organization whose candidates have swept to victory in several recent high-profile races. I'm going to skip around here. Just this month, the DSA called for defunding the Defense Department, abolishing police, and getting rid of the Senate, and replacing the president and the Supreme Court with representatives, quote, chosen by and subordinate to Congress. DSA national leaders like Sarah Al-Mawasi scarcely hide their disdain for a Democratic Party they view less as a partner than a hostile takeover target. Quote, ultimately, the strategy of the DSA has been to primary mainstream Democrats, and we're going to continue to do that, she said on a recent afternoon as she sat in a Yemeni coffee house in Brooklyn. We're going to take it over. We're done with this. They're not meeting the American people where they are. Once a baby boomer relic, DSA now counts more than 120,000 members, about half of whom joined since 2004 after Israel's war in Gaza ignited campus protests. I'm not going to read the rest. You get the point. But what's incredible to me, what Wall Street Journal kind of leaves out is two of the most popular candidates that have delivered upsets. One of them is out now, obviously, because of his own scandals, Graham Plattner. But Abdul El-Sayed openly says he's not a socialist. He says he believes in capitalism, whether you agree with him or not. He's not a DSA member or even identifying as a socialist. Graham Plattner, before he dropped out from those accusations, he didn't identify as a socialist. He kind of identified as like a lunch bucket, blue collar. What did he do? Oyster guy or something like that?
Yeah, oyster farmer.
His replacement in Maine, Troy Jackson, same thing. So they're trying to like gaslight and make this about DSA when in reality, it's about policies, whether progressive or technically socialist. These folks are all kind of championing the same policies and against certain things that have become litmus tests and deal breakers like genocide, like data centers, like the growing surveillance state. And one of those hotbeds is right in your backyard, the Wisconsin governor's race.
Yes.
Which you actually led. Most people, you interviewed Francesca Hong, who's right now in the lead, a Democratic socialist, a couple months ago, I believe. That's up on the channel. She's in the lead, and now the establishment is turning their panic and gaslighting against her because they've seen the 3 DSA candidates win in New York City. They saw the DSA candidate win in Colorado recently. And now they are very panicked about El-Sayed potentially winning on Tuesday, which, by the way, we have plans to be on the ground there in the days leading to the primary in Michigan. We'll get to that in a minute. And trying to stop Francesca Hong. But according to the polls, Wisconsin, let's show this poll, not necessarily thought of a Brooklyn hipster commie utopia, thought as the, your preeminent swing state. The Democratic Socialist right now is up by nearly 30 points in the most recent poll.
Yeah. She polls at Francesca Hong running openly as a Democratic Socialist was just in this poll that is conducted by State Navigate found that she has 44% of the vote. The next two candidates combined don't even get to 30%. This race, if this poll has an accurate model of the electorate come August 11th, which is when the primary is in Wisconsin, this race is effectively over. Francesca Hong will become a socialist nominee under the Democratic Party for governor of Wisconsin in a year that is favorable to Democrats. And these next two candidates, David Crowley and Mandela Barnes, are establishment guys. These are both, David Crowley is endorsed by the sitting governor. Mandela Barnes is the former lieutenant governor under that same governor. So these are establishment guys who the establishment could not figure out who to rally behind here. Absolutely shit the bed, panicking over Francesca Hong, who now seems like she is going to run away with it. And run away with it, even if every other candidate besides one dropped out, she would still win the election, even in a head-to-head race. And this was something that, if you've been paying attention to some of the analysis that we have had here on Status Coup, is something that I have been saying for a while, is that the Hong campaign was immensely confident about where they were. They did not care about some of the machinations that were happening behind the scenes with Democratic insiders, that they were still feeling like they were going to win this. In fact, just to offer you a peek behind the curtain here, I had been scheduled to do a couple of, to report on a couple of events, like do a ride along with Francesca Hong's team as she was campaigning around the state. Those events actually got pushed back to the general election because the Hong campaign is so confident that they are going to win the primary on the 11th, that they wanted to save some of these big events that they had planned, these like media and attention grabbing events. They wanted to save them for the general election. So that is the amount of confidence that they are bringing to this contest and have for a while now. And there's a lot of like shocking things about this poll, but perhaps number one above all of them is the number of people that actually self-identify in a swing state like Wisconsin as being Democratic Socialists. So this
can we show that, Colin?
Yeah, I've got it here. So this is the ideological self-ID of likely Democratic voters in this coming election. And it's broken down by how they identify themselves, from conservative all the way to Democratic Socialist. And you can see a plurality, 21%, 1 in 5 likely Democratic voters call themselves a Democratic Socialist. They don't call themselves extremely progressive or extremely liberal or center left or moderate. And how many times are we told that we have to go after these center right or moderate voters come the general election? The center right is only 3% according to this ballot. So we are the Democratic Party's normal strategy of flipping the bird to their left flank, to their base, and saying we have to go after the center right. That's going after 3% of likely Democratic voters in order, and ignoring the desires of 21% of their electorate. I start to lose words at a certain point here, Jordan, because it just seems that strategy is so self-defeating. And this is probably also a reflection of where we are at in terms of this electorate, of what people actually want in their candidates. They want bold vision, and that is what they seem to see in Francesca Hong, who is staking some pretty bold policy positions here. And one of those is on the issue of AI data centers. This is also from that poll. They did a word cloud of the number one issues that people were citing in their poll. And look at what you see. Big, bold letters at the center of this word cloud. Data centers. Francesca Hong is the only candidate in this race who is calling for a moratorium on data centers being built in the state of Wisconsin. So it's no wonder that she is resonating. In fact, Jordan, this is to just maybe for a chance for you to puff out your chest on this a little bit. If you recall, I hosted a gubernatorial candidate forum here in the state of Wisconsin back in early June. This was at the same time when a lot of the drama outside of Delaney Hall in Newark, New Jersey was happening. And you put your body on the line, Jordan, to be able to cover those demonstrations night after night. You didn't need to do that. You did it so that I could be out here and do this gubernatorial forum here in the state of Wisconsin, where I got to ask all of the major candidates, all the major Democratic candidates for governor out here, some very pointed questions. And one of those questions was, do you support a data center moratorium? Only Francesca Hong said that she supported a moratorium. This is actually
support a
the clip.
1 year or longer moratorium on data center construction in Wisconsin.
And you see, she's the only one who puts that green thumbs up sign up out of all the Democrats on the stage. She's the only one. This image and this clip actually went, I don't know if you want to call it viral, but it really made the rounds inside of Wisconsin, inside of the campaigns, inside of election Twitter out here. And now, Jordan, kind of because you gave, because you believed that this was important and you were, put yourself on the line out there in Delaney Hall, Dan Schaefer, who is one of the biggest media figures here in Wisconsin, it says that moment was one of the most significant moments of the primary in the wake of this poll coming out, and is basically saying that this is the reason that Francesca Hong is likely going to win the Democratic nomination for governor out here.
So basically, Francesca Hong could thank status quo, is what we're saying?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying in no uncertain terms.
Okay, cool. Wisconsin, sign up as a paying member to Status Coup. Statuscoup.com/join. Sign up for low as $5 a month.
Yeah, and before we move on from this, there are two more things I want to point out. One is going back to the Wall Street Journal story, Jordan, just to broaden this out a little bit. A lot of these progressive candidates, many of whom you listed off, have been framing this election as like the many versus the money. This is like a common saying that we are hearing, especially from Abdul El-Sayed's camp here in the closing days, that his campaign is the campaign of the many. It's meant to represent the people, and it's against the money. And one anecdote from this Wall Street Journal story that I want to point out here is that the DSA, with 250 chapters and counting, the National DSA has an annual operating budget of $9.3 million, less than what a single Democratic super PAC has committed so far to this year's New Hampshire Senate race. New Hampshire, not one of those states that, to be fair, an important state, but not one of those states that we are hearing about as, crucial to senatorial elections this cycle. The DSA has a smaller operating budget than what a single super PAC is willing to contribute just to that race. And also to address this issue of affordability, about not affordability, but about electability in these elections. There's a lot of consternation about, can Francesca Hong and these other progressive candidates, can they win over, Republican voters? We've also been, we've always been taught that we have to sacrifice any meaningful policy. We can't advocate for Medicare for all. We can't advocate for expanding access to public education. We can't advocate for building more housing. We can't advocate for these things because it might cost us that never Trump voter, that mythical Republican voter who might switch over and then never seems to do so. Well, Francesca Hong told us in our interview that we did with her way back in March, before anybody was talking about this race, aside from Status Coup nationally, Francesca Hong told us at the time that she was winning over Trump voters, and that was something that we explored with her, and this is from our interview with her.
We're bringing in Democrats, Democratic Socialists, independents, folks who voted for Trump in 2024, maybe even 2016. And so
you're hearing from people who voted for Trump who are supporting you?
Correct.
Okay, so you got to walk me through that
Sure.
headspace. Like, what are the reasons that Trump voters are giving for now supporting a socialist?
Well, they're frustrated with the status quo and both parties. And when I talk about, look, your local government, if they were actually getting their fair share of dollars from the state, the state's been hoarding money from our local governments. Things like stop signs, potholes, making sure that you've got great libraries and public parks. These things would change, but we need, these are urgent matters that deserve universal actions, and I think that's resonating with folks.
That message doesn't sound radical to me. It sounds like just promising people that government is going to work or could work for them. And when you paint that picture for people, oh my God, all of a sudden, these white working class Trump voters can get behind a Korean democratic socialist. Like, it's not complicated. It's not rocket science. But of course, the Democratic Party has long been just a machine or it captured or a tool for corporations in this country that do not want to see government in any robust sense, because it might mean more regulations and impacts on their bottom line. So that was kind of my soapbox on this, Jordan. Though one thing that I'll take the moment here to plug for our audience is that I'll actually be interviewing the pollster who did this poll that shows Francesca Hong so far ahead, to ask him what it shows about the electorate and some of the lessons that it that it holds for Democrats nationally. The pollster's name, again, it's with State Navigate, but the guy's name who's in charge there, he has just his name is and I'm forgetting the last name really quick, but he has one of like the best names that I've ever heard in politics. His name is Chaz Nuttycombe, and I will be interviewing him this afternoon, and that'll be going up on our channel fairly shortly. Thank you for giving me that space to vent about Democrats refusing to learn this very easy lesson, it seems, Jordan, about how to win elections.
Absolutely. By the way, we did a mini poll in the YouTube chat. Would us doing live streams like this more regularly urge you to become a paying Status Coup member for as low as $5 a month? That's 16 cents a day. And with the incredibly large pool of voters, that would be 42 of you, 69% said yes. So 69% of the audience would like more Jordan and JT. So we'll have to do that. And by the way, we really could use your help. Obviously, a lot of the stories we're talking about are reflecting how broke everyone is. So if you can't support us, we understand. But if you can, we try to make it as low as possible. $5 a month, you could support us. Statuscoup.com/join. No disrespect to a lot of other people in independent media, but we're one of the few that actually go on the ground, which means we have a much larger overhead. Our overhead last month was almost $70,000 because of all the travel we did, specifically covering Delaney Hall or the hours we were live, the freelancers we used, in addition to payroll. And we don't have money from corporations. We don't have money from Palantir, United Healthcare, all the rest. And we are going, I believe, as we're going to finalize details, but as early as this weekend, JT and John will be going to Michigan to cover the final days before the Michigan primary, which is obviously a state primary, but I do believe it has national implications, particularly for the direction of the Democratic Party, the prominence of the issue of Israel and Israel and Gaza. I think that's going to be a major issue in that primary. So we want to be on the ground. This reporting costs money, especially for an actually independent outlet, between flights, renting a car, hotels, equipment. So if you can, all we're asking is 16 cents a day. Statuscoup.com/join. Support us for 16 cents a day. We're also going to try and do our monthly members call. We do a call with our members for as low as $5 a month. We're going to try to do that next week. So if you're a paying member, we do that every month for our paying members. Statuscoup.com/join. And super chats are appreciated, and donations are also appreciated. If you donate directly to our website, that's statuscoup.com/donate, we get pretty much all of that. If you do leave a super chat, our friends at YouTube take 30%. All right. I'm going to go a little bit quicker because we have a guest coming up at 12:30. I want to move on. Todd Blanche is on the fence as far as getting confirmed as Attorney General. Interestingly enough, the Republicans who might not vote for him, and this is just to vote him out of committee, just to vote him out of, I believe, the Judiciary Committee. So if one of the Republicans vote no, he doesn't get past committee and doesn't go to a vote in the total Senate. And interestingly enough, their deal breaker, let's show the first tweet, Colin, new from Punchbowl News congressional reporter Laura Weiss, Senator Cornyn, who Trump endorsed against, and he lost down in Texas. So now that he's on his way out, he's suddenly brave and standing up against Trump. Wasn't brave when he was still in office. Says his meeting with Todd Blanche this morning has been called off. Quote, they know what they need to do, but they simply refuse to do it. And Chuck Grassley, who somehow is still in office, I think he's 90, has told him he has to know by 4 o'clock if the vote tomorrow can go on. Cornyn says he won't vote yes without a resolution. And that resolution they're talking about, they want it in writing from Todd Blanche, that they will get rid of Trump's absurd, I think illegal, $1.8 billion, quote, weaponization fund. So basically a reparations fund for January 6th convicts and other MAGA cult members who do bad things. So I don't think you guys need to hear from us what we think of that weaponization fund. Obviously, we're against it. But what I find incredible is these Republicans, and thank you for the super chat. $30, Sarah. Thanks for all your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Moral Compass, member for 38 months. I think we need another book from you, Jordan.
Get cracking, Jordan. Get writing.
Speaking of, if you need a good summer read, this is We the Poisoned, my life's work when it comes to the Flint water cover-up, out in 2024. But you might have missed it because we unfortunately had to release it right before the presidential election. Thank you to the publisher for that. I won't even get started. But it's a good read. Aaron Brockovich wrote the foreword. I'm grateful and lucky to say. So let's keep growing my first book before we write another one. I don't even have time to pee right now. Much less.
A good members benefit idea would be a book club with JT where we read through your book, Jordan, because Jordan, when I was out there visiting him a few weeks ago, was kind enough to give me a copy of his. I took it along on vacation with me over the last week, and I did not get to it. So it is still sitting on my to-read pile. So I got to get a group of our audience together, and we'll do a little book club.
I'm very offended, by the way. Welcome, new member Trish signed up. Thank you. But what's amazing is their deal breaker is the weaponization fund, not the fact that Todd Blanche, as we speak, is appealing to a judge who has ordered that he and the Department of Justice release the documents in the Epstein files they are hiding, which they are clearly hiding to protect a child sex predator ring and potentially the president's knowledge or involvement with said trafficking ring. I just want to play you 2 clips if you haven't been kept to date. And JT interviewed independent journalist Katie Fong a couple weeks ago about her lawsuit, so that you can check that out on our channel. She sued directly Blanche and the Department of Justice because as a journalist, we can't do our jobs without these documents being public. And they have heavily redacted the documents, and they're hiding certain documents, including notes from the FBI about an interview a woman did with the FBI, 4 interviews she did, accusing Donald Trump of raping her and physically assaulting her in the 1980s. Let's show those. I think they're the 2 shorts, Colin. Let's show her updates on this.
So those are 6 out of the 8 emails that Judge Sullivan has told Todd Blanche he has to roll up with proof that those are victims. And that is why he hasn't released them in an unredacted form. Let's turn to the remaining 2 emails because those are incredibly important. EFTA 628112. According to Todd Blanche, this email dated February 2nd, 2015 from a redacted sender to Jeffrey Epstein is a private email address with no name and would violate the Privacy Act, and that's the reason why Todd's not turning them over. This email says, quote, the key are the 14 to 15-year-old girls. I am a sexual pervert because I say they are now of a reproductive age. I do hope there's no legal jeopardy for you in this new flurry of activity. My heart goes out to you, brother. Being called a sexual pervert is no fun, less so if you have served time for the crime. 2 things. 1, not a victim. Secondly, there is no exemption in the Epstein Files Transparency Act for a private email address. Unless it dealt with the victims, which Blanche is a little screwed here. He's not claiming that it deals with the victims. He's just claiming that the Privacy Act is bigger and more powerful than the Epstein Files Transparency Act, and that's the reason why he doesn't have to turn this over.
Jesus Christ. That email.
So the deal breaker is the anti-weaponization fund, which I'm with these Republicans. Get rid of it. That should be a deal breaker. But you don't mind that the would-be attorney general is the ringleader of hiding sex crimes, child sex crimes, who's involved. The president might be involved. That's just, yeah, we'll allow that one. I mean, it's just unfucking believable, even for Republicans who say family values and, oh, life and the children. I mean, this is just something. I don't even know if I have anything left to say.
Like the only thing that I mean, I was kind of making the joke with you before we started recording, right? Of like, well, you know, nobody's perfect. But like, I mean, that's kind of the only thing that you could take away from it is like, if you wanted to give a charitable read to the Republicans, you could say like, oh, they don't feel like they can, you know, come out and say that the deal breaker is the Epstein files. So they're just making up the excuse that it's the weaponization fund. But even then, like, what kind of credit is that to them? Like, they're too chicken shit to be able to say that they are anti-pedophile. Like, what the fuck? I mean, like, that's really all there is to say about it, as far as I'm concerned.
Ah, goodness. Well, we'll follow up on Mr. Blanche, who, I mean, Pam Bondi was about as horrible as it gets, but if he's confirmed, it will be just as bad, if not worse. And I'm going to take a stab, and I think he's going to be confirmed. I think this Republicans will buckle because Cornyn, of course, wants to preserve whatever board seats he wants to be on once he leaves Washington, which will involve him continuing to cradle Trump's balls. All right. I want to get to this next story, which is extremely, extremely alarming. To be clear, from a journalistic point of view, we were looking into this because there's one video. There's two videos, actually. One is a female ICE prisoner who is speaking in Spanish. And the only source I could find was a TikTok channel. And I don't speak Spanish, so I don't know what she was saying in Spanish, but it went out on Twitter and and it was an English version of what she said in Spanish. So I reached out to the person who posted it on Twitter. This account posts a lot of ICE encounters and ICE violence and et cetera. And I asked, hey, I can't find this English version. You know, where did you get this from? And they told me, let me just read what they told me here. I ran multiple searches for this video and I could not find it posted publicly anywhere. Then it was I who ran this video through a language translation program. That's the extent of what I know. So basically, the original source is an ICE woman, a ICE prisoner at the Louisiana prison that has had an ICE guard charged and convicted with raping prisoners. And it was then, I guess, AI dubbed in English is what I glean. Now, I can't independently authenticate it, but I feel confident just based on my journalism experience that it's true and that this is a legit video based on comparing the two videos. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. But I just wanted to put that out there because a lot of people just post videos without doing any due diligence or vetting. And I don't want to post something that's not real, like a real video, but I think it is. So let's start with we're only going to play 30 seconds of the Spanish version because most of us don't speak Spanish, but just so you could see the original version, let's play that.
Hola, mi nombre es Lorena y estoy en el Centro de Detención de Inmigración de Basilio Sur de Luisiana. Aquí hay todo tipo de discriminación, no solo en el centro de GIO, sino también en ICE. Nos traen de diferentes estados a supuestamente pelear nuestro caso, pero solo es para gastar dinero aquí y perder. Las mujeres que estamos detenidas, mayormente no sabemos de dónde se encuentran nuestros hijos, porque nos quitan y no nos dan información.
So this is that woman is speaking from the, what's it called? The Basile ICE Detention Center in Louisiana. For background on that, Colin, this is the article. This is earlier this year. Contracted ICE employee pleads guilty to sexual abuse of female detainee. A former employee contracted by ICE at a detention center in Louisiana has pleaded guilty to sexually abusing a Nicaraguan woman who was a detainee on multiple occasions over the span of a number of months. David Corville has been charged with a single count of sexual abuse of a ward or an individual in federal custody. The abuse occurred at the South Louisiana ICE Processing Center at Basile. So we have background that there has been sexual assault occurring by guards or employees at this prison. So I want to play this video. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it is horrifying. I do not believe this is only happening at this prison. Again, this prisoner spoke in Spanish, so this is a kind of like a audio dubbing to make it English. But I've kind of looked at both, and it checks out to me. If we could start playing that, Colin.
My name is Lorena, and I am at the South Louisiana Ice Processing Center in Basile. There is all kinds of unfair discrimination here, not just in the center, but also in ICE. They bring us from different states supposedly to fight our case, but it's really just to spend money here and lose. Most of the women who are detained here don't know where our children are because they take them away from us and don't give us any information. They bring us here, and there are people who spend more than 15 months here and then get deported even after winning their case. The staff expose detainees' information so that they can be trafficked. The staff are having relationships with the detainees. Here, they are forcing detainees to work for $1 for more than 6 hours. They refuse to give us medication, and if we don't defend ourselves, they threaten to take away all our privileges, our communication, and put us in the moon. We have the case of a woman who was not given proper socks, and because of that, they had to amputate 4 of her toes, and she doesn't even know why her toes were cut off. Give the case to Mrs. Brisa from Mexico. Another case is a woman from Ecuador named Nancy, who was 3 months pregnant, miscarried in her bed, and did not receive any kind of medical attention. We also have Kelly, a Venezuelan woman who only has 1 kidney, and the kidney she has left is suffering from renal failure. The water we have to drink is tap water. We also have the case of a Cuban woman who won her case and has been here for more than 10 months, but DHS appealed and now she has to stay even longer. We have no information. People who have been deported and have been waiting more than 3 months for deportation, and we are also not eligible for bond. Why do we have to be here? There are many cases of women like mine, where I am a mother who left my 5-month-old daughter when I called the police on my husband because he was hitting me. And even though I was the victim, I was the one who got arrested. And here there are many more like me who are separated from our children, who have no communication with our children. I am already deported, and yet I have been here for 3 months in this detention center, where we experience discrimination from the officers, where when we go to eat, and since we don't speak the language, they tell us they don't speak Spanish. We have the right to an interpreter, but instead they mock us. In the dining hall, they don't let us eat properly during our allotted time because we arrive, and after 5 minutes, they're already making us leave and go back to our rooms. We have no voice. That's why we're making this complaint, so that you can be our voice and know what's happening here at the Louisiana Center.
They give us cleaning supplies.
They don't give us cleaning supplies. There is poor hygiene here. There are pests, diseases like a lot of colds and scabies. There's a Cuban girl here who has gone to the medical office several times, and they don't tell her what's wrong, but it's scabies. That's because of the mattresses, because there's no cleaning, no hygiene, and no products to clean things. And now, because of these complaints we're making, we're supposed to have our tablets taken away, our means of communication. That's why I ask you to be our voice. And if we can't communicate with our families for a while, it's because we're speaking out. Please show them everything. Come, we're going to show you a Honduran woman who was beaten and hasn't been able to show her injuries. Show your injuries, ma'am. Come closer. Look at the injuries she received when she was beaten all over. She was unable to communicate with her family about the injuries as she was kept incommunicado in the moon. Lift your foot, lift your foot. No, she was lift your foot. She was in the moon, and no, she can't communicate with her family because they kept her incommunicado in the moon so that the injuries wouldn't be visible as the days went by. Where is Brisa, the lady whose finger was cut off? Brisa, come here, please.
They put the handcuffs on me, and now we are able to communicate. Look at all the bruises. Look at how they left me. Look, when I was arrested by ICE. I don't know if you can also see here on the part of the legs.
Raise it slightly.
The leg. Look at how they left me.
She is bruised and cannot communicate with her family to show them how her body is right now.
One of the people who took me out of the van grabbed me by the arm and left all these bruises on my arm. Look.
We also have the case of 3 pregnant women here in this room. One woman is 6 months pregnant, and 2 others are not receiving the medical attention they need. Here she comes. Here comes Mrs. Brisa, a Mexican woman who had 2 fingers cut off. Let's help her so she can show it. Here she is. She hasn't been able to help here, please. No, let's show her. Come up, come up, come up, come up. Here is Brisa, who had her 2 fingers cut off. Show them. She doesn't know why they cut them off. No, we're here to help her because she needs... How many children do you have, Brisa? Please, how many children do you have? Exactly. She has 2 children in this country. Deported to Mexico, her fingers were severed. Lacking medical care, what's happening to her is inhumane. Here she is, and they don't deport her. Look, they didn't give her any explanation for why they cut off her finger. We need help because we have nothing. Expel her, Mexico. Because in this deportation case, they have her here. How long have you been here already? About 2. 4 weeks. She has been detained for about a month, waiting for her deportation, and now she has this disability. She wants her trusted doctor in Mexico. They have been here for over 67 days. 67 days. Anyone else to speak?
They really should.
Let's show Kelly as well. Kelly, the young woman I told you about, who only has 1 kidney, and she has kidney failure, and they don't give her the medicines she needs. She is the one. Look, I am going to show you her paperwork.
I have proof of my surgery. I only have 1 kidney. No, they don't even take me out for tests or checkups. They don't give me...
So there's a little more to that video. I played most of it because I think you should hear it.
Yeah.
To remind people, the original, the main woman speaking in the original video, she's speaking in Spanish. So that is an audio dub in English. She wasn't speaking in English. I believe some of the people behind her were speaking actual English. So her voice is audio dubbed. So that's why it sounds a little different. But we obviously can't confirm every single detail journalistically because we haven't spoken with them. And there's a lot of accusations going around there, but based on our reporting everywhere around the country, I'm going to venture to believe them on pretty much every accusation they're making. Coupled with the fact that we have already seen a guard charged and convicted with raping one of those prisoners in there. We know that there's been accusations at Delaney Hall, which we covered extensively in New Jersey, of actually a female guard sexually assaulting prisoners. We know that there's been accusations, name your pick, Broadview, Minneapolis, not just of sexual assault, physical assault, psychological torture. And you have a lot of poorly trained or untrained or failed cops or fill in the blank of people staffed up as these guards. And some of them, a lot of them are contractors for other agencies. But I mean, they're not making up those bruises and they're in the prison. So I don't know where else they would have gotten them from. I also think, although the violence described there is the main takeaway, including them talking about being sexually assaulted, how many of these people are in ICE custody for what that woman described, where she called the police because she was abused by her boyfriend or husband, and she was arrested because of her immigration status or whatever it is? How many of the worst are actually in there because they're domestic violence victims, and ICE got them? Because a lot of the people in ICE custody are actually rerouted from normal prisons, because ICE is looking in the actual prisons and taking people who are in actual prisons and sending them to ICE custody. But a lot of those people are in actual prisons either for the wrong reasons or they're innocent. So when people say we're going to need a Nuremberg 2.0 trial, I think this is what they're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, I just want to be clear, because some people watching this might also realize this kind of stuff doesn't just happen in ICE prisons.
Yep.
This kind of stuff happens in actual American prisons that are not immigration camps. So we shouldn't just think that this is a new thing. watch the Alabama Solution on HBO, for example. But I don't even know where to start with that. But your thoughts on what we just showed?
Yeah, I mean, it's horrifying. Like some of the things that that the people in the chat have been saying, you know, you don't need a translation for bruises. That's a universal language. Like you can understand that there is abuse happening there. There's at least one part of the video is mistranslated where they talk about, you know, a woman's fingers being cut off, and then they clearly show a foot and it's missing toes. Not that that makes it any better, but without giving an explanation to the person as to why this is happening, people being denied access to their doctor. Like, I want to go to Mexico. Like the whole point of these brutal conditions, we are told from the Trump administration, is that so people self-deport. But when people ask to be let to go, to be allowed to self-deport, they're told no. They're just held there for the sake of cruelty, even if people want to, you know, go back home to be able to get the medical care that they feel that they need, then they're not allowed to have it. There, I mean, you could pick out almost any moment in that video and turn it into a huge story. The fact that it's just moment after moment after moment like that strung together, I think really in just a few minutes encapsulates so much of the horror and terror associated with our immigration system that we have built by choice in this country. And part of it too, Jordan, is like a frustration that there's oftentimes with some of the stories that we cover where I get angry that it is left to us to do the coverage, that there is not more of a big deal being made about this. In this case, I would hope, because you and Tanita and some of our staff, you know, behind the scenes here at Status Coup we're doing quite a bit of work to try and get this video authenticated. I have to hope to God that the reason that more mainstream media are not talking about this is because they are undertaking that work to try and get it authenticated right now first.
I'm pretty sure that's a wishful hope on your part.
Right. And that was where you saw exactly where I was going with that. But we know that all too often these media outlets are actually bending over backwards to offer the Trump administration avowedly propagandistic coverage of what they are doing. Don't need to look any further than CBS News and what is happening there under David Ellison. That they are turning themselves into propaganda outlets for the Trump administration just because they know that they have become these corporate behemoths that will have business before groups like the FTC and the FCC, that they need to play ball with the Trump administration, tamp down stories like this, hide coverage like this, because they want to be able to get those favorable rulings from the Trump administration about the further growing of their corporate empires. And it means that women like that, stuck in facilities like that, undergoing treatment like that, abuse like that, get their stories covered up, obfuscated, buried, so that more people don't hear about what is actually happening in this country in immigration detention centers like that. And it is horrifying and shocking. And I know to a certain point I am preaching to the choir here, but I think it should give everybody some real pause about the whole system that we have built in this country, from immigration through our media, through our economic system, through our government, that this set of circumstances could be allowed to transpire in a country that calls itself the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Couldn't have said it better. And what I think, you know, I guess kind of circle back to what we talked about earlier, but to the people in MAGA who truly believed that, you know, Trump was anti-war, or this, that, the other thing, if you truly believe that Trump was doing this for immigration or because of like a loose or open border, I mean, how many other examples do you need of just like random innocent people locked up essentially for for-profit prisons? I can't say for certain. I'm let me see. Basil Detention Center, Geo Group. Yeah. It's again, Geo Group owns that ICE prison.
Surprise, surprise.
Geo Group also owns Delaney Hall. Geo Group made $245 million in 2025 off of this. And they have, various vendors, contractors. I don't know which companies these guards are. I don't know what vetting is done for these guards, if any. I don't know if they're clearing background checks. I mean, we just saw with this ICE psycho in Maine who shot and killed Johann Sebastian Guerrero. According to his ex-wife, he was diagnosed with manic bipolar as a teenager. Schizophrenia was another. I don't know if it was an official diagnosis, but that's one of the things that was suspected. Lied to the military, hid those things, those diagnoses. Abused his wife, threw hot coffee at her while she was holding their daughter, young daughter. I believe as a police officer pulled a gun on his partner. How would this guy get, into a PTA meeting, much less get a gun and become an ICE agent? So whether it's ICE on the streets or guards in these camps, it seems to me the worst of the worst is who Trump and these for-profit prisons are hiring. And there needs to be some form of accountability. And by the way, I think it needs to be a litmus test for any 2028 Democratic candidate. Because, we saw Obama come in 08. Well, let's not look backwards at Bush and Cheney. The media has reinvented Bush and Cheney as like, yes, painters and the responsible Republicans. No, they were war criminals too. Obama didn't want to look backwards. Oh, jailing bankers who defrauded the country and world and tanked the economy. No, let's move forward. So I think there needs to be a litmus test besides Medicare for all and the policy issues, not only abolishing this agency, but there needs to be trials and convictions for anyone who participated in this. I don't really care what you think of immigration. If you think we need tighter immigration, looser, whatever, that's not the point. The point is we can't have camps in America where we're torturing and raping people, where we're depriving people of medication, where we're psychologically torturing them, where we're feeding them maggots. It's absolutely criminal. And that is why we have stayed on this ICE terror across the country, because of things like this. When the rest of the media moved on, after Minneapolis. We did not. We've stayed on this to our detriment, frankly, where it doesn't get the same views as, doing 25 anti-Trump videos a day or just following whatever stupid shit Trump says. But we think it's important because I kind of think masked paramilitary troopers storming around the country, abducting people is the most important story going on right now. Call me old-fashioned. I think that's really important. Segueing to a story I doubt you've heard of.
I hadn't before you sent it to me.
I want to set this up before we bring on the guest. As you know, Status Coup covers what I like to call the United Sacrifice Zones, because whether it's your air, your soil, your water, industry has basically poisoned large parts of America, and that's just cost of doing business, our government and corporate America tells us. And they often lie through their testing and other things to say, nothing to see here, everything's fine. Well, recently in the Buffalo area, Niagara in particular, there has been massive radiation hotspots found from the Manhattan Project, from the atomic buildup of the 20th century, in the mid-20th century. And I believe over 100 residents have gotten notices that their backyards have high radiation levels, which is then asking scaring the living shit out of the wider region. What's my radiation levels? Where's the testing? Is the cancer that my mother or this person had that was unusual or they had no family history of? linked to these radiation levels. And New York Governor Kathy Hochul is pretty much doing a whole lot of nothing. I want to show you first, if we have the first video there in the live doc lineup, Colin.
People are upset.
It's been extremely stressful. I have the confirmed contamination in my yard, so it's not just potential, it's there.
Overwhelming as well and all-consuming. That's all I can think about day and night.
And they want answers to basic questions.
We got the letter in the mail from the DEC stating that there's radioactivity noticed in your general area. They didn't specify, but we want to know. We want to know for sure, and we want the places, the homes, and everybody's properties checked out.
We're scared. They're telling us, one thing, and we're hearing other things. It's overwhelming, and we're not sure what to believe.
And while Monday night's meeting at a hotel in Niagara Falls was not run by a government agency, their people were there. Officials from the EPA and other state and county agencies lingering amongst the residents, casually taking notes. Residents simply want transparency.
But it should be public information. It affects each and every one of us.
The community deserves to know everything.
And are calling on the state DEC to release the full radiological survey that was conducted and led to the latest hotspots being publicized. But that's not everything they want. Homeowners, mostly in the town of Niagara, also want Governor Hochul to declare the radioactive hotspots a Superfund site and help relocate families that have hotspots on their properties.
You can still be checked, but get them out of their homes so that they're safe.
Let me repeat that. Radioactive hotspots in America. Let that sink in. I don't know. Maybe this should be like a big fucking news story.
That's what I was thinking, Jordan, is if we lived in more normal times where we weren't being completely inundated with like fascism on a daily basis, like Jesus Christ, like status quo would be there. Like we would be like, I could just imagine me like crouching in a backyard with a fucking Geiger counter.
Let me tell you, I've already been there. St. Louis, 2017. There's a community, I'm trying to remember, the Bridgeton, or I forget the name, landfill, nuclear waste from the Manhattan Project days. This was pre-COVID. There were kids having to wear masks playing outside because it smells so bad in that neighborhood.
Yeah,
I was there interviewing folks. I think there was an HBO documentary about it. Let's play the next clip before we bring on Lexi.
I just feel sick to my stomach, like I'm in a nightmare. Every memory that I have here is now warped with like, how long was I exposed to that? And my grandma died of cancer at 58. It was a rare blood cancer. And my mom right now is battling a non-genetic and non-hormonal type of breast cancer. So of course you think like, oh my gosh, is it from this? Like my daughter took her first steps here. It's terrifying. She crawled around this yard playing in leaf piles and sprinklers and pools. And it's like, was she being exposed and how much did she get? She's 3 years old. The only good side of it is supposedly after this, within 3 weeks, I should know the health risks. But then what if it comes back and they're like, yeah, it's actually really bad? Then what? I guess it's the unknowing that's the scary part too. I wish we could just do this and know tomorrow.
So joining us now is that community member in Niagara, Lexi. Sorry you had to sit through JT and I ranting about this. But let me start. Tell us, you're from the Niagara area, which I believe is near Buffalo. When did you and others in the community start worrying about this, hearing about this? And
we all got a letter in March. It actually had Kathy Hochul's name on the letter. And it said from aerial surveys that they did in 2023, 3 years ago, and roadside surveys from last summer, that they pinged our yard as potential hotspots and they wanted to further investigate it. But in order for them to come and investigate it, we would have to sign a waiver that said I waive any and all claims I have now and in the future against New York State, the DEC, the EPA, and all the representatives.
Whoa. So first of all, it took them 3 years to even reach out to you in the first place, to even do further investigation. Just another 3 years of exposure where the state likely knew that there was something wrong and did nothing. Mm-hmm. And then you had to sign away your right to try and get some kind of, justice here in order to get even just the investigation done as to what the contamination is like.
Yes. So I fought the DEC on it for months. I absolutely did not want to sign it. They told me that they would not revise it or accept any revisions. We ended up getting this private scan done by this documentarian. He's not a scientist, but he had a Geiger counter, and it showed a lot of hot spots in the yard, and he was concerned. So that at that point, I have a 3-year-old. I felt immense pressure to sign it just to get an answer.
And I want to go back before you even got this letter, because a lot of communities that I've covered around the country, you have like anomalies, like one block, everybody's got some form of cancer that's similar, everybody's got something. In this community, were there concerns about escalated cancer or other illnesses over the years before you got this?
In Niagara County as a whole, the cancer rate is, I think, the second highest in the state of New York. And we're not that big of a county. So it's nothing new, but we just always put it to like all of the factories that blow out the smoke, and Goodyear plant with the rubber. And Love Canal is actually only about 5 miles from my house. So we just always just associated it with that. We didn't think it was anything that was literally in our yard.
Mm-hmm. And Colin, if you have that image of the hot spots, I put it in the live doc, but this is like they've sent it to 100 homes, but I mean, how do you know it's only 100 homes? I mean, where is like, is there, not that I for a lot of reasons, I don't necessarily trust the EPA, but has there been federal testing? What is the testing plan? And, there's been community meetings and this and that, but it seems like based on the hotspots they found, has there been any talk about relocation while they're testing or anything like that for affected residents?
I'm actually one of the 4 homeowners that are being temporarily relocated. We had to fight for it. It took 20 days after the original scan of my yard on June 29th for them to even offer relocation, despite the data being in their hands the whole time. The 3 other homeowners are being relocated too. They actually have it inside of their houses. I'm lucky that mine's towards the woods in my backyard and it's confined to that one area. Theirs is in their house where they lay their heads, in their bathrooms, in their basements. And the person that found that was actually Channel 4 News, not the DEC. They did their yards, did not go in their houses. Dan Talbot came and went, he said, "Can I go in your house?" And he found it in their house and then gave his information to them.
Wow. A rare example of intrepid local journalism. Credit to that journalist. I want to ask you, because in my experience, and I've covered the Flint water crisis a lot. I've covered East Palestine and a lot of other places with this kind of thing. A lot of times, like the state, city, local will kind of try to minimize it or say like, yeah, it's bad, but it's only confined to these areas and it's actually not affecting residents. It's just in this random creek or whatever. Have they tried to downplay it, I guess you could say, in terms of it's not in like the main areas of the community?
They keep saying there is no imminent public health threat. That's all they'll say.
Because cancer takes years to develop.
And it's on private residential properties, and they have not shared the information of public parks because they said they don't want to release something and create a panic. They have not shared the aerial surveys, even though they've been foiled multiple times.
So what does that mean? It's on private residential property, like you radioactivated yourself? I mean,
like it's buried in the yard. It's not in the middle of a park. So the public is not in danger, but private residents could be.
So just the residents that make up the public.
Exactly.
Okay.
They've given us no real answers, no guidance on how we can protect ourselves. So we actually have to reach out to experts ourselves, like independents from like the Harvard School of Public Health, Dr. Petros. He actually took our vacuum canisters and stuff to test for radioactive dust, which I didn't even know was a thing. He told us not to wear our shoes in our houses, to get air purifiers, to not bring anything from this house that can't be wiped down into our new house.
You're kind of hinting at what I wanted to get a sense for, which is what the immediate future looks like for you since you are going to be relocated. It sounds like you're at least going to get a home, but I mean, logistically, what does it mean for you for work, for access to schools? Like, can you just kind of give us a sense for how upending to your life this is?
It's not something we want to do. I mean, my daughter took her first steps in this house. It's going to be hard to have to leave and not know when you're coming back or if you're going to come back. They asked us questions like where we want to go, and I gave them a 30-minute radius because I don't want to go too far. My family all lives around Niagara. They said they'll try to do their best. They're having a hard time finding any of us homes that accept pets, and all of us have pets. And it's actually the EPA's passed it off to the Army Corps of Engineers for the relocation. They said that's their job.
Okay.
But I guess Trump actually, like the weekend that we were relocated, Trump had sent the Army Corps to like move from one spot to the other, so they weren't available. And they actually just got in this week it's been almost 2 weeks.
And can you give people a background as much as you know? Because my research on this area was one of the most prevalent areas for the nuclear buildup in America, kind of the Manhattan Project, which then makes sense why now, over 70 years later or so, suddenly, shocker, radioactive hotspots. But could you tell people what this area's involvement in the nuclear buildup was?
It was very top secret. And there was something in Lewiston, which is probably 20 minutes from my house. They called it the Lake Ontario Ordinance, and it's where they started doing their project. They were very secret about it. There was no documents left over from it. They actually built a school right next to it, and a lot of kids from that school ended up getting cancer. And they're also telling me that it might not exactly be from the Manhattan Project. It could just be industrial waste from another factory. They don't know yet.
Pretty sure it's
Mhm.
probably linked to, there's a lot of industrial factories all over America. They cause other problems, high lead, arsenic, dioxins, but radioactive is a particular thing. Now, this is New York. This isn't Texas. So you would think, based on what we're told, there's a Democratic governor, Democratic politicians. Buffalo does have some Republicans too. But what has been kind of the feedback? Because everything you're talking about is you've had to fight for relocation. You've had to fight for X, Y, and Z. What is the governor doing or saying about this?
She never reached out to any of us. We've wrote her letters. We've sent her emails. She's never picked up the phone and talked to any of the actual affected residents. Instead, she released a media statement to pass it off to Lee Zeldin. And they were literally fighting with each other through the media. He had his administration call her a liar. And it was just, they're fighting with each other and passing it back and forth instead of actually helping.
And this is Governor Hochul represented Buffalo in this area, correct? Before being governor? Okay.
Yes, and she's actually from here. She grew up in Buffalo.
So she can't pick up the phone for her own hometown. I see.
DEC held a meeting the week before ours, and she was in Buffalo that day talking about data centers, and she didn't show up. She was 15 minutes away, and she didn't show up.
Can you talk about kind of the community response? I saw the video. We played some of it from the town hall a couple nights ago. In a lot of these situations, what tends to happen is at first the community is very they're scared, they're angry and united. But then, frankly, sometimes I've learned the government kind of plants people to sow division. But what's kind of the community response now? Because you're one of the lead activists. You've co-founded, I believe, Save Our Backyards. But tell me about the community, because I guess right now it's being found in Niagara, but I'm assuming people even from a little further out are a little concerned.
Yeah, so this project is actually called NECRA, Niagara and Erie County, so it includes Buffalo too. The community showed up. There was over 200 people packed in this small room, and somehow there was no chaos, no interruptions. Everybody got to talk. It was peaceful. And just hearing everybody's stories about, like, my uncle worked in a factory and got cancer and died. Like, you heard that from everybody. There was not a dry eye in that room. Everybody was just so distraught over this, and they want to change because the radiation is just one spot of it. Love Canal is leaking again. Goodyear is causing cancer. There's 5 environmental crises happening in Niagara County right now. This is just one of them.
I don't want to get too political. It doesn't matter to me, like, who you support. But I'm just curious for you. Like, we have the president right now talking about we can't afford anything else, Medicare, Medicaid, childcare. We just need to build up military supplies. I mean, there's a lot of, like, I would call it worse than hotspots. Like, there's a lot of people being poisoned in America right now. East Palestine, Flint still has bad water 12 years later. Don't let them gaslight you on that. I'm actually interviewing tonight a candidate for mayor of Flint because the media and the government have falsely lied that the water crisis is over. I just wonder from you and the community's perspective, it seems like the federal government's priorities are also not on, like, these kind of environmental crises.
It is not, and we actually have been trying to push for this to be labeled under the state superfund, but unfortunately it's under, like, the emergency EPA response, and we all know that there's been cuts and there's going to be more cuts towards the EPA, and we think that they're going to do a dirty job of just trying to get it out and go without fully checking for other contamination. So we really wanted this under our state, where there is a superfund with $125 million put in a year. And if she doesn't spend the money, then it's just going to go where? To some other program? I feel like both sides have been very neglectful in this, both sides.
And I just want to point out, JT, because this is important. So apparently, from what you're telling me, they knew about this 3 years ago.
Yes.
So the local government and the state government, they had the time to build a brand new stadium for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, they did.
With a lot of money from taxpayers, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But not inform you guys immediately that you were sitting on radioactive poison and not do anything about it. I'm just clarifying the priorities there.
Mm-hmm. Kathy Hochul's husband actually owns the company that sells all the refreshments and stuff at the Bill stadiums. He's like the CEO of Delaware North. So I think that's why that was a top priority for her.
And you wonder why I call it the United Corporations of America. Sorry, JT.
No, that's all right. I mean, you kind of took things in a similar direction to me. So I was going to. So Lexi, I'll kind of pivot to this, which is, we've gotten some illusions to you of like what you want to see happen here, but let's for a moment live in a fantasy world where you're able to get exactly what you want from the federal, the state government, and all of this. I don't know if there is a way to put your life back together if you find out that, your family home is contaminated with radioactive material, but what would some justice for you look like here? What is the ideal outcome to your mind?
I think that we all need to have medical monitoring, not just now where they're going to do some tests, but they need to follow up with this and they need to be responsible for paying for it because insurance isn't cheap and Medicaid doesn't cover anything. A lot of us around here, we're not a rich neighborhood. This is like one of like it's not the worst neighborhood, but it's not the best. We're in the middle, so we don't have money. We can't afford to pay for healthcare for things that, like getting blood tests every few months, getting cancer screening. So that's my main priority, is making sure that they're going to cover this forever, for the rest of our lives. And if we get cancer, they need to pay for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell people kind of, obviously this is right now it's happening where you are, but a lot of people in similar situations, whether it's water, air, soil, they've told me that, wow, they never expected this to happen in their community, and they didn't realize how many other communities stuff like this is happening. Have you been able to kind of connect with people in other communities, whether it's Flint, East Palestine? We've covered so many hotspots. It might not be radioactive material in there, but something I've seen in recent years is communities kind of coming together to help each other.
Not too much nationally, but definitely locally. I would love for more other states to come to me and we could figure a plan out. I've been in contact with like the Center of Health and Environmental Justice. They, I think, are based in Texas. And I think our Lois Gibbs, who was actually like the Love Canal, she's like a local activist. I think that was like something that she actually founded and she created. So it's pretty significant to be a part of that and to have them training us.
Yeah. And curious, like, this is a full-time job, what you're doing. Like this community organizing, like you also got to raise kids. I don't know if you're working now too, but can you kind of talk about like, has this kind of taken over a lot of your life?
It has. This is what I'm doing all day until 2:00 in the morning. I'm barely sleeping. I barely get to see my daughter, but that's okay because we're still in our houses for now and I don't want her here. So she's been staying with my dad, but we also have a dog. So I can't just go to my dad's with the dog. This is just my life now, and it's unfortunate. I have to hear all these like terrible, heartbreaking stories from all of our community, and I have to be the one to just absorb it. I'm very big. I can't, like, I'm an empath, and I have to figure out a way to like not let this break me.
Yeah, you took that immediate step to get your daughter out of the house, send her to live with your dad. But how long had she been living in that house?
Oh, her whole life. I bought this house 5 years ago. She's 3 years old. I have pictures of her playing on the hot spots, playing in the leaves on the hottest spot of our yard. It's just, I don't know how much, like, they need to tell me, like, how much exposure if they're going to figure out that number. It's also confusing, and I'm not a scientist. They gave me a map, and they walked away. I don't know what this map means.
Right. And they tell you Iran is the greatest threat to national security. I'm going to venture to guess the fact that during the industrial buildup, we said, environmental protections. Well, what's that? We didn't even have an EPA till 1970s, and the EPA has basically been captured. That's the only thing I agree with RFK Jr. on. So Well, Lexi, I really appreciate you coming on. We're going to have to add this area. From what you told me, there's 5 different environmental disasters coming.
Just so you guys know, it's greater than 100 people now. They announced yesterday that it's over 700 people have gotten these letters now. They've expanded it to like miles and miles. It's not just my neighborhood now. They're moving to downtown, closer to the falls. They're moving to Grand Island. It's getting bigger and bigger. And they're trying to do over 2,000, they said.
Can I ask how far are you by miles, if you know, from Canada?
Oh, Canada's like it's probably 5 minutes from my house. The river just intersects that. That's why this was such an industrial spot, is because we have the river and we have the power authority. The power authority is down the street from me. It's literally like a walking distance.
So, I mean, obviously, I don't want to misspeak, but if Canada is so close, there's potential that this could have spread there.
Oh, 100%, especially if they dump stuff into the river and it just washes up onto their banks. The EPA says they're testing now. They did the soil samples in my yard. They're testing for other chemicals because they said they don't believe it's just going to be radioactive waste. If this is waste, it's going to have other chemicals in there. So I won't know for 45 days, but there's stuff that could be airborne, goes through the groundwater.
Yep. And Lexi, since you have this platform, is there, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of love for you in our chat, but is there anything that our audience or people who hear this and are moved by your situation can do to help you, your neighbors? What do you want them to do for you?
I would love if people followed our Facebook group, Save Our Backyards Niagara. We're starting to get in the process of creating a GoFundMe, which the funds are going to be used towards yard signs, to help relocation processes. It won't be used for our pockets. We want to have more community meetings, and this stuff is getting really expensive just for us homeowners because we haven't been working so much. So we will be creating that soon and posting it on our Facebook.
I'm gonna go and follow it right now.
We'll be in touch because I think we could definitely get on the ground there in the near future. So to connect with you and others. So thank you for taking the time. I'm sorry we met under these circumstances, but I'm glad to get it out there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Take care.
Thank you.
Well, it's been an uplifting show, I would say.
Yeah, see, Jordan, we joke about it every time, but I really do think we need to do the local news thing of play the video of like the dancing dog or whatever that your local newscast ends with, the kicker at the end of every show here. We need people start sending us videos of kittens that we can conclude these broadcasts with.
Oh, man, I don't even know where to start. And, you know, the thing that frustrates me the most is, you know, stories like this do not go viral. Stories like this, it's incredibly hard to even get it through YouTube's algorithm to the masses. I mean, look, right now we have about 300 live viewers. We at one point had almost 400. You know, for other types of things, you know, action, ICE protest, violence, we have thousands, you know, but for more news of the day, generally we have less viewers. And it's really sad from a media point of view, and we both have experienced this both in local and national news, that these platforms and the mysteries of their algorithm and how they work, one thing that seems to not be a mystery is kind of substantive stuff that's happening on the ground level, you know, local, community-based, state, that's not conflict oriented or sensational or whatever, but like has real material life or death ramifications. Generally might get a couple minutes on the night local news. If you're lucky, a couple minutes. National news, you really need visuals. You know, Flint, I think they covered it because you had long lines of cars waiting to get water and you had physically brown water, and they only covered that for about 5 minutes. But that's another, you know, our political system is under crisis. Our democracy, whatever's left of it, I don't really think we had a functioning democracy even before Trump. But I would say our media has been in crisis for a long time. And the platforms that are the distribution points, you know, Google, YouTube, TikTok, Meta, whatever. In addition to the oversaturation, just the endless digital diarrhea of content, and that's what I call it. There's just too much content. So it's hard to kind of break through what's real, what's not, what's important, what's not. People's attention spans are being shortened because of just the sheer volume of content. And a lot of it's just garbage, if you ask me. Actually, what matters, And I can't tell you, JT, I don't know if you've seen it on our channel. I can't tell you how many times I've covered a story that's kind of like, I guess you could say local, like an environmentally local story. And I'll get in the comments, I live 20 minutes from here. I didn't know about this.
Yep.
I didn't see this on the local news. Certainly didn't see it on the national news. So it's really, I think the media is in crisis too. And what's great about the internet is anybody can create content and be like a content creator. But I actually think maybe we need a little less content and maybe we need a lot more actual journalism.
Yes. Yes. It's kind of like the biggest opportunity for us and also like the biggest detriment to society that there really is only one status quo in the world, right? I mean, we talk about that all the time. I mean, nobody's doing what we do, but man, the world would be a lot better if they were.
Total full disclosure, totally open book. For those that don't know in the audience right now, I'm interviewing and hiring for a senior producer to basically like be the top producer and kind of run the day-to-day, because a lot of you don't know, like I'm pretty much running the day-to-day while trying to report. So if you've contacted me, if you're an activist and it contacted me and I have not responded, that's why. But one of the things I've talked to with candidates is, unfortunately, because of these algorithms, we kind of have to feed some sugar in order to deliver the broccoli. Meaning, we have to cover some stories. It's not that we cover, I don't think we ever really cover stuff that we don't think is somewhat important or somewhat newsworthy. I'm not going to, we were not going to cover Taylor Swift's wedding, for example, unless there was an angle relevant to us, which was she invited an ICE prisoner. Not an ICE prisoner, the CEO of one of the ICE prisons. But I'm not going to lie, we looked for an angle to cover Taylor Swift's wedding because it was topical and trending and this and that. So unfortunately, to grow nowadays, you have to play the algorithm game. And the algorithm on this and other platforms, what's trending, what's sensational. That's why in our headlines, you've seen we do more all caps. Our thumbnails are a little bit louder. It's not because that's necessarily what we want, but if you're on the train or the subway or wherever looking at your phone and you have 10 videos on your screen, human nature, you're going to click on the one that visually pops to you more. Or the headline is a little, I don't want to say, I'm not trying to do clickbait, but it's a little bit more in your face or loud. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I really wish we had a different system that wasn't manipulated through big tech proprietary algorithms that are not open source. And we can essentially cover what really matters, but I also have to keep the lights on. So we have to kind of balance both covering, for example, in May, I did like 10 videos on Melania doing that Epstein, that bizarre random Epstein speech. Did I do 10 videos on that because I thought it was the most important story on planet Earth? No. I mean, I thought it was interesting. I thought there was smoke there, but I did one and it got 500,000 views. So I said, hey, this is good for growth. This is good for revenue for the month. If I do a few more of these, then I can focus more on more substantive stuff. So that's kind of the trade-offs you have to make in this industry now. And it sucks. It really sucks. I really would. If it were up to me, I just told Michelle, I was talking to her earlier, if it's up to me, I would only cover environmental corporate sacrifice zones.
Yep.
I would love, if I didn't have 2 kids and a wife, I would go on a year-long reporting trip, call it Water Wars, and go to every goddamn poison community in this town. And I think it would take a lot longer than a year.
Oh yeah,
to be honest. So that's my long soapbox. Sorry if I'm venting, but that's the reality. Reminder. This weekend, as soon as this weekend, we haven't finalized the details, but we're looking to get back on the ground, go to Michigan, cover the final days before the August 4th primary between Abdul El Sayed and Haley Stevens. Although this is a Michigan Senate race, I do think it has bigger implications nationally. I think it has implications for the 2028 Democratic primary because if Abdul El Sayed wins, make no mistake, a large reason he would have won is for the progressive populist issues. But I think equally large in Michigan will be his position on Israel and, more importantly, her position on Israel. She's gotten, I'm pretty sure, $30 million or so. I don't want to misspeak, but a lot of money from AIPAC, Haley Stevens. And I think Israel-Gaza is going to be a litmus test in the 2028 Democratic primary. I also think it would be burst the bubble and the media propaganda of, oh, you need moderate candidates to win in swing states. Well, right now in Michigan, Democratic Socialist is crushing the competition in the primary. Wisconsin, not Michigan. That would be Francesca Hahn. So we'll see how it goes. Thank you. New member Trish became a YouTube member. Thank you, Moral Compass. I think we need another book from you, Jordan. I think we need everybody to buy my first book, and then we'll do another one. We the Poison, exposing the Flint water crisis cover-up. It's on audio too. I think the links to all that is in our descriptions. Thank you, Sarah. Again, $30 super chat. Drew on paper, status quo member. Blanche is a loathsome bottom feeder. Can you imagine as like a job just cradling Donald Trump's ball sack? Oh, guitar, $5. Focusing on Trump is no longer an issue. His position in world is diminished as a limited, dangerous joke. Brainwashed TV produces American ignorance. I agree, but I do think you need to focus on Trump when a mentally unstable, potentially senile man has the nuclear button.
Yeah, when he can direct the most powerful military in world history to do whatever he wants, as exhibited in Iran.
Yes. WQT or Q2 became a YouTube member. Thank you. Let me make sure I didn't miss any signups on the website. If you are going to sign up as a Status Quo member, we really appreciate those signing up on our website. We try to grow our membership specifically on our website because YouTube giveth and YouTube taketh away. Thank you, new member Tyler just signed up on our website. So what happens if YouTube demonetizes this channel one day? What happens if YouTube gets into one of its, cycles of censorship? What happens if they just decide to get rid of this channel? If the majority of our members are signed up on YouTube, we're kind of fucked. You might not know, but if you sign up on YouTube, we don't have access to your email or any of your contact information. So we pretty much lose at this point, thousands of members who are signed up on YouTube. So that's why we ask you to sign up on our website. You get the same perks. It's just we have control of your information rather than YouTube. So that's statusquo.com/join. Statusquo.com/join. You could sign up there on our website. As a paying member, you get access to our monthly members call, which we're going to shoot to do next week. Behind the scenes videos that we usually shoot on the ground from our on the ground trips that are just for members, merchandise discounts, all the good stuff. JT, you want to tell the people anything you're working on before we go?
Just one more reminder. I will be, so first of all, there is the aforementioned reporting trip to Michigan that I am actually, as you're talking, Jordan, responding to emails from the Abdul al-Sayed campaign right now. And then this afternoon, I will be doing an interview with that pollster who did that poll showing that a plurality of Democrats now identify as Democratic Socialists. What does that mean for the future of the Democratic Party or of this country? And what does it portend for the elections this summer and fall? So we'll be getting into all of that, some really surprising and interesting things about, and I think encouraging things about the direction of the country. So that video, if this live stream was depressing at all, hopefully this video will be a little bit more of an uplifting story that you can get subscribed to Status Quo, so that way you can get a little bit of that in your life as well.
And can I just add, and this is for my own insecurity, I really don't like going live with you.
Oh, why is that?
When I look at my thinning hair, I'm about to turn 40 in September. And when I look at what was once a thick mane, and then I look at your vibrant, and this is meant in a heterosexual way, no offense to homosexuals. But when I look at your thick mane, it really, it hurts. Including, I had to trim my beard yesterday because it's getting so gray. I just got to start trimming it more. I'm not going to dye it. I'm against that. But my beard is just gray.
I think there are people in this world who like who like a little bit of, the salt and pepper look, Jordan. So I don't know that you need to be all that devastated. And if it makes you feel any better, I know I'm on borrowed time with this hair when I look at my father, who is, completely bald. So I am just trying to relish it while I have it.
And by the way, as another inducement to membership, if we get more people signing up, maybe we'll live stream my 40th birthday party. It's going to be a wild one.
Oh.
I won't name where, but my friends and I from childhood, it's the one vacation I've taken, and I don't even know. I will be going to a undisclosed location in the Dominican with a few of my buddies for 4 days. Might try to stay there longer. And I am very much looking forward to it.
Is this the planned vacation you've told us about?
Yeah, October.
Got it.
So if Trump could, wait on the ICE terror or violent civil war, I'd appreciate it for the first week of October. All right. Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Ty. Thank you, Tanita, helping set up the live stream. We'll have other videos. I also did an interview. We might post it later with Oliver Larkin. He hasn't gotten the attention of these other candidates, but he's a Democratic socialist up against Jared Moskowitz in Florida's 25th district. Jared Moskowitz is another AIPAC lapdog. We first interviewed Oliver down at Alligator Alcatraz, actually. He was on the ground protesting. So we might post that today or a little bit later. Like I said, I have an interview scheduled tonight at 8:30, which I might be asleep for, with a candidate for Flint mayor to keep Flint in your on your mind, because there's still a water crisis. And JT has that interview. So we got a lot of good stuff coming up. Thank you, everybody. And we will see you back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.